Always trust.
35 years after independence from white minority rule, Namibia has sworn in its first female president.
So help me God.
Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah won the November election to become one of just a handful of female leaders in Africa, following in the footsteps of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia, Joyce Banda of Malawi, and Samia Suluhu Hassan of Tanzania. In her long career, Nandi-Ndaitwah has served as Vice President, Foreign Minister and Deputy Prime Minister. But she isn't just a veteran politician. She's a former freedom fighter who joined the liberation movement as a teenager and rose through the ranks of SWAPO, the party that led Namibia to independence and has ruled ever since. Now, at 72, she leads a country still marked by deep divides. White Namibians, less than 2% of the population, own most agricultural land. Youth unemployment is close to 45%, and the nation's wealth, from diamonds to uranium, remains concentrated in the hands of a powerful elite. Nandi-Ndaitwah inherits a nation facing the unfinished business of the past, the challenges of the present, and the hopes of its people for the future. As one of her first decisions in office, she signalled a rare shift in gender power dynamics on the continent, appointing a cabinet made up mostly of women. But will that team be enough to reignite trust in a party many say has lost its way? And how will Namibia's new government navigate rising global tensions and approach a White House once again led by President Donald Trump? Namibian President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah talks to Al Jazeera. Namibian President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera. Congratulations on your victory. You have long served your country from a teenage freedom fighter to the top executive office. How do you feel? And what do you plan to do with that opportunity? Your presidency is historic, it's symbolic, but symbols alone don't change societies. How do you plan to translate that symbolic victory into real change for people in Namibia, especially the most vulnerable?
I feel an honor and privilege that the people of Namibia have given me this opportunity. I can say that it's a historical reality that as women of Namibia, we have to move thus far. And it is not something that has come because me personally, I'm a woman, but because the people of Namibia have seen what is in me that can be used in the service of the Namibian people. As you might be aware, that since independence, the people of Namibia have shown their trust and confidence in the SWAPO party to guide our developmental agenda. And definitely a lot has been achieved, and that was made possible by the maintenance of peace and stability in our country. Thereby, we can proudly say a strong foundation for economic development in our country has been established.
But I'm sure you will, I'm sorry to interrupt, established, but I'm sure you will agree that there is a long way to go, and your rise comes at the same time that SWAPO's popularity has significantly declined. And liberation parties across the region, from South Africa's ANC to Mozambique's Frelimo, are losing youth support. How will your presidency be different from previous governments?
You can say that SWAPO's popularity has declined because you are looking at the result of the elections. But I have to tell you that the result of election for us is that the people are just giving us a message that they still love and have trust on the SWAPO party. However, there are areas that we need to seriously consider, and one of them is the high unemployment, particularly among the youth, which we are experiencing in our country. And one has to really understand, how did we reach at that high unemployment? That's because there have been so many factors, some, if not all, beyond the control of any political party. And that is the situation we are finding across the region. One of them, as you know, our economies are still growing, and agriculture, which is known historically all over the world, that is the basis for economic development. I must say, since our independence in 1990, we never experienced good rainfalls. It's either a drought or too much water, like what we are experiencing this time around.
And certainly Namibia has faced serious drought. You've mentioned one of the biggest problems facing the country, which is youth unemployment. It's at more than 40%. You've pledged radical shifts to fix the country's high levels of poverty and unemployment. What will you do?
Yes, as we have said it in our 2024 election manifesto, that we are going to refocus on the sectors that we see, and we have learned over the years that those are the sectors that can grow the economy and create the necessary jobs. One of them is, as you know, the Namibian economy is mineral-based. And for a long time, we did not really invest fully in the value addition. And that's why our cabinet has taken a decision for us to pay special attention to the value addition, so that we cannot allow to continue exploiting all our natural resources, all of it or most of it, to leave the country unprocessed. And that's why our elections was based under the theme, unity in diversity, natural resources beneficiation for youth empowerment and sustainable development. And that is one sector that we are going to focus on. We will engage our neighbors to go into the processing industry, agro-processing, which will also create jobs and also solve the problem of food insecurity. We are talking about the creative industry, where many young people are participating. That is in addition to our mining industry. We also talk about our fishing industry. And now we have discovered oil and gas, and we should drive benefit from them.
And on the oil and gas sector, certainly the discovery of offshore oil wells in the last few years have provided a lot of hope for the Namibian economy. You have placed the oil and gas sector under your control. Why have you done that? And what do you say to critics who say that that can lead to political interference and a lack of independent regulatory oversight?
In everything you do, there will always be critics. But I have to tell you that the mandate I got from the Namibian people is to do what I believe is right for them. And I'm telling you, knowing how the oil industry, the history of it, and all the dynamics that is involved, and it's just a new industry, I found it appropriate that it needs close monitoring, hence my decision to place it in the office of the president. And we feel this new industry will contribute to job creation. It just needs proper monitoring.
And you have said that the oil and gas industries will be managed in a way that will maximize the benefit to all Namibians. Will the revenues be publicly audited and published? How will you ensure transparency?
I can tell you that Namibia is a country that is ruled by laws. And since our independence, we have doing things in accordance to our laws. And I want to assure the Namibian people that having taken an oath to defend and protect the Namibian Constitution and the laws of the Republic of Namibia, there is no way I can manage this industry outside the Namibian laws.
You say Namibia is guided by laws. 35 years after independence, Namibia is one of the most unequal countries in the world, and there are some people who say that the laws that are in place haven't worked to make it a more equal society. White Namibians, less than 1.8% of the population, own around 70% of agricultural land. You have reaffirmed the willing buyer, willing seller model, but hasn't that strategy failed? Why are you sticking to it?
Yeah, we are not really sitting to it. First of all, the management of the land is also part of the implementation of our constitution, that part of the property rights. It is true and is known by many who have been following the history of Namibia that at the time of our independence, much of the land was under the hands of individuals, and land being part of the property, and the constitution is very clear on the properties, we have to develop laws, and we started with the willing buyer, willing seller, that we realized it was not working. And we went further after the land conference to introduce the land tax and also to focus on the absent land owners. And some have managed to surrender the land, where those who were landless were settled. Government has also acquired some land and people were resettled. However, there is still a gap. And now we have developed the programs where we can implement the constitution through expropriation. And currently, our land bill is on its way to Parliament, and that is the one that is going to guide us to the next strategies of ensuring that there is a balanced land distribution.
So can we expect something more assertive? Can we expect in the land distribution bill that you're working on that it will be more assertive to guarantee that there is a more equal distribution of land in Namibia?
Yes, we are aiming to that. And I have also to tell you that when we talk about land in Namibia, we are not just talking about the agricultural land. We are also talking about land in municipal areas where people have to build their houses. Of course, when it comes to the agricultural land, in our election manifesto, we have made a commitment that in the next 5 years, we have to make sure that at least 130,000 hectares of land has been added to the productive land. Because the most important thing when we are talking about the land is for us to ensure that we make land available and at the same time, we will make it productive.
And do you also see it contributing to Namibia becoming a more equal society? Again, according to the World Bank, it is the second most unequal country in the world, second only to South Africa. Would you say that this is just a statistic or a real crisis?
I cannot really say that it's just a statistics, nor can I say it's a crisis, but it's an issue that we have to face. And that does not mean that we have not witnessed any reduction in inequality since Namibia got independence. You know, our history is one of those histories where the disparity, which was based on one's color of the skin, was so high. And we decided through our policy of national reconciliation to talk to the hearts and to the minds of the Namibian people to enable all of us, united in our diversity, to be contributors in order to reduce the gap between the have and the have-not. Of course, we did not achieve the result that we needed. However, that's why we are now in the process where we have to refine, and we know that creating jobs for Namibians who are unemployed is one area that can enable us to reduce the gap between the have and the have-not.
Madam President, you've brought up Namibia's past, and certainly Namibia has been in conversation with Germany about reparations for colonial-era atrocities. The last German figure of 1.1 billion euros wasn't acceptable to the Namibian parliament. What is the status of those discussions now? And does Namibia have a figure that would be adequate?
You are very much right. We started engaging the Germans as directed by the Namibian parliament when they passed a resolution directing the government of Namibia to engage the German government. And we were given three areas to focus on. One is for the German government to accept that they have committed genocide in Namibia, which now they have agreed to say that even though by the time what had happened, the international community has not defined the word genocide, they see it and accepted that it was genocide that happened. They also agree, as it was requested by our parliament, that once they agree, then they have to come and apology. They told us they are ready to apologize. And thirdly, is reparation. You are right. A figure of 1.1 billion euro was given. We introduced into our parliament, and the parliament sent the government back. We engaged the Germans, and where we stand now, the Germans have undertook to increase or to give additional resources as part of the reparation, if they say endowment, to what had happened between our two countries. Namibia, we had our election in November, and our new government was just put in place on the 22nd when the new cabinet was established. And then now for the Germans, they also had elections. And once the two governments are now fully established, we will then resume. And then hopefully we are going to conclude that negotiations.
Okay, you have served as foreign minister in the past. How do you plan to work around the current global stage, especially with major players like the US?
United States of America is one country that Namibia has established diplomatic relations since our independence. And America is one country that is also having business interest. And as we mentioned earlier on about the new industry, which is the oil industry, they also have interest.
USAID was providing $40 million in HIV/AIDS relief alone to Namibia last year. And Namibia has one of the highest prevalence of HIV/AIDS in the world, with 13% of the adult population suffering from one or the other. It's made huge gains against the disease in recent years. Are you worried that some of that progress can be undone?
Not really to the extent that one might expect, but any change might have some impact immediately. But I have to tell you that we have really made a very good progress when it comes to the management of HIV/AIDS. And as you have said it yourself, we are one of those countries that has made good progress. What we have been doing now with the support of the USA support is the continuous mobilization and sensitization. And with the skill that we have gained and the capacity that has been built, we will be able to continue such programs. But any additional support will be very much welcome.
Has Donald Trump called you since your inauguration?
He did not call me, but I was glad, and Namibian people appreciate because he has sent an envoy to come and witness my inauguration and to celebrate with us our 35th independence anniversary. He also sent me a message of congratulations, which I highly appreciate. And I feel with that move, we can work together as two countries in the best interest of our two people and our two countries.
And what about President Xi Jinping or President Putin? Have you spoken to them since your inauguration?
He also sent an envoy who we also appreciate, and send me a message of congratulations. I will endeavor to strengthen cooperation with all countries of the world in the best interest of Namibia and in the best interest of the world, in order to ensure that the citizens of this world, they enjoy the world in which they live.
Madam President, you've been in politics your entire adult life, but what pressure comes with being the first female president of a country?
The pressure, if any, is just, I believe, is the pressure which any head of state could experience. First, as I mentioned, we are in the world which is characterized by so many things happening, and some of them are beyond the control of a human being, like the impact of the climate change. Now, when you have such a situation, it's a pressure that is put on the head of states to ensure to it that you can guide your people to survive in such a situation. The whole world is just recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic. We don't know what is going to be the next crisis coming. Again, we are seeing tension in different parts of the world, both in Africa and outside. Those are not good signs. But as leaders of the world, we have a responsibility to manage those issues as they are coming up. For me, as a president of Namibia, the Constitution of the Republic of Namibia make it very clear that any conflict must be solved peacefully. Hence, we continue to encourage a dialogue in any part of the world where there are conflict, either internal conflict or conflict between member states. And that will continue to be a guiding principle for us and to appeal within the multilateral system that we must encourage dialogue in order to save lives and properties of the citizens of the world.
You joined the liberation movement at just 14. Now at 72, you are Namibia's president. Looking back, what would you say to that 14-year-old girl? And what is your message to young girls around the world today?
I've grown up in a colonial environment, and that environment has taught me to hate, to be oppressed. That environment has given me the value of valuing other people and not to look down upon others, because I didn't like it when during the colonial time, because of your skin, you are being seen as a second citizen. And that has made me to fight for the liberation of Namibia. And that is why up to now, I really feel strong that self-determination is very fundamental and needs to be protected and need to be assured. And that is why I have to be part and parcel of the liberation struggle of Namibia, not because I hate the whites, I don't hate them. They are part of us, they are Namibians, but it's the system. So now for a young child who's growing in an independent country, in Namibia and the world over, use that opportunity to bring out your talent in the interest of everybody, to contribute to the well-being of your people, to contribute to the development of your country. You must bring out your talent. Do what your talent is telling you, and do it with focus, do it with honesty, do it with integrity. And in that way, you will be contribute meaningfully to the development of your country and to the well-being of your people, and you will be happy. There's no person who cannot be happy when you are doing good to the other people.
Namibian President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. You are always welcome.